This episode is made possible by our sponsor, Landmark College, the college for students who learn differently, offering comprehensive supports for students with ADHD and other learning differences, both on campus and online. Learn more at lcdistraction.org.
Welcome back to Distraction. I'm René Brooks. Today I am here with my good buddy and favorite plant mom, Liz Lewis, who is lots and lots of fun to talk to and does amazing work with women with ADHD through her ADHD Enclave and through her blog, Healthy ADHD. Hi, Liz.
Hi. Just so everybody knows, René and I only arranged for this like 2 hours ago.
Yes, because I have ADHD in real life and I call people to do stuff at the last minute.
So you called me a plant mom. I do have one living child as well.
Well, yes, that's true. But, you know, I'm looking at plants. I'm thinking of plants. Poor Elliot. He doesn't deserve this. He's such an awesome kid. And I'm just like, yeah, kid schmid, plants. That's what's important.
Well, I pulled all my plants in and they look pretty good now, but we'll see how it goes through the winter.
They do look good. And this is why I called her a plant mom. It was really like, you know how people are like passive aggressive because they're jealous? Her plants look much better than mine do today. So, you know, it was spite and malice.
Well, I do like that you started with spite and malice because it immediately made my brain go to the holiday season.
Correct. Which is what we came to talk about. The holidays, spite, malice, angst, fear, loathing.
All the good stuff happens this time of year from like October 31st until about January 2nd. I mean, it's a pretty dark time.
It's so we were talking earlier and we were agreeing that like most of the holiday stuff, because we live in a super like heteronormative society, is run by women. So women are expected to do the bulk of the planning and the purchasing and the letter and card writing and the invitations and all of that stuff that takes lots and lots of executive function. But like there are women with ADHD and we don't have the level of executive function that's needed often to pull these things off in a smooth way. So the holidays, which are stressful enough for anybody, tend to be particularly stressful for us. In fact, as I'm thinking about it, I'm just I'm internally like making the list of things that I have to do for the holiday this year, and I feel a little headachy.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny. I pulled up an email that I that I must have sent to my list in December of 2000 and no, last year, just December of last year, 2020. But I made a funny list last year in this email about all the things I was feeling responsible for. So here, I'll read it to you. Pulling out all the decor, rearranging the furniture, prepping for any guests, coordinating a menu, shopping for food, making sure that I am considering everyone's taste preferences and allergies. And at the same time, keeping track of, this is for the parents, keeping track of events, fundraisers, homework, charitable contributions, the social calendar for the school, local activities to take our kids to that are enriching, and to volunteer activities for the holiday season to do with kids.
Gosh.
And I was saying basically in this email that it's 2020, there's a pandemic, is a pandemic. We're supposed to do all these things and we're supposed to do it well and we're supposed to really like it. And like we're supposed to make everything warm and bright and fabulous. And I just, starting last year, but probably even before that, I just don't get it. I just don't understand why why women have to do this. This is all like invisible labor stuff that just gets in my crawl. And I'm like,
Correct. It's like,
Yeah.
and therein lies the problem. I think the idea that we're just like you hit the nail on the head. We can't just do it. We're supposed to also enjoy it. And I think there's this whole culture of fear where so many of us are looking around going, I feel like I'm the only person who really, really hates this. And we just kind of like look around to see if we can spot each other. And when we find somebody who hates it too, we're so grateful because it's miserable. Like, oh my God, you got to find volunteer stuff for kids to do. Thank God the dogs don't need any of this kind of stuff.
Well, you don't have to, but I think I don't do as much, say, social media as I used to do.
Yes,
But when you work in that space, even just tangentially a little bit, there is this
yes.
thing like you should try to make the holidays about more than, I don't know, presents or whatever. And so I didn't last year, but in years past, I have tried to come up with things, adopt a family or things that we could do so that he understood, that it wasn't just about, I don't know, the presents and stuff. So
But it is about more than presents. It's about food.
that's true.
Lots of food.
There's this social pressure to sort of like do this, but then
Yeah,
for me personally, there are huge consequences to just bowing out too.
for sure.
Like, and to just telling your family, like, I'm sorry, 2020's been a shit show. For me, there were huge consequences. Especially it started last year, but it was building for years. But when I finally was like, I don't think I can do this year. I can't do it. And for me, I mean, there were huge consequences to that. And I know I'm not the only person that has had that.
Yes, like, and therein lies the thing too, right? Like, I think the reason why we feel so much pressure is because we all know, like, a faux pas during the holidays does not always end during the holidays. Like, it can make and break relationships, whether it's a family relationship, a friendship, a relationship in the community, at the school. Like, people's emotions are very, very high at the holidays, and a social slight can be taken very, very personally. And people with ADHD don't always hit the social niceties the way we want to, and sometimes we don't even realize we've done something and offended someone until much, much later, because people have a tendency to kind of keep quiet about those kind of slights and nourish them. And then they're like watching you, and every single thing that you do is like evidence to support that you've slighted them in some way. And then one day you piss them off and they slap it all down on the table and go, aha, here's all the ways that you've offended me since you didn't come to my Christmas party. And you're like, what are you talking about? First of all, what Christmas party? And they're like, the same Christmas party that I have every year, and I've had it for 5 years. And you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Do you really have that party every year? I think I came once. Like, and you're caught like in this like this rage that this person has, and you genuinely don't have any idea what they're talking about, but you're in some shit with them, and you can't always fix it.
Yeah, and I actually think it's been really heightened the last couple of years, whether it's pandemic related or it is, related to the social cultural shifts that we're experiencing. It has been really heightened.
Very much so.
And people's sort of like the inability for people to communicate or different people's different belief systems, you're talking about parties, like I know people that probably will have parties this year even if they canceled them last year, they'll have parties this year.
Yeah, people are not staying in the house this year, whether we think they should or not.
Right, and I think I'm actually thinking specifically of someone I know who is very, like, anti-vax and tends to have holiday parties, and
Oh.
I'm gonna have to go through the motions of explaining, "Sorry, we're not doing that."
Mm-mm. And then you have to deal with the peer pressure.
Mhm.
And it's like the jump that's made from "you don't care about my party" to "you don't care about me" is such a fast one. And to me, I'm like, "But I don't see you the rest of the year either." Like, I'm not like, I'm either working or I'm in my house recovering from working like 85% of the time. And then like the other 15%, I'm like dying to socialize with the people that I love to socialize with. So your party probably didn't make the cut. No offense to you or your party. I'm sure both of you are lovely. It just wasn't on my radar. I feel like people are not upfront enough about how much something like that means to them, and we're just expected to know. And we don't all place the same value on things. And I think that's something that we in the ADHD loop blame on neurotypicals, but I don't think it's just a neurotypical thing. I think it's a societal issue where we assume that everyone is like we're friends, so therefore you place the same value on this particular thing, or you feel exactly the way I feel about this thing. And if you don't, it's because you're backwards, and I need to inform you about how backwards you are and make you do this thing my way. And I hate that. And that comes out in droves during the holidays.
Yeah, you're right, and I don't think it is just a misunderstanding between people without a brain-based difference and people with a brain-based difference.
It's not at all.
I just think it's human.
It really is. Like it's
Yeah,
a natural thing to assume that our way of doing things is the way of doing things unless you're conscious of that and look to avoid it.
right. And then there's also, like I have family issues, like one of the things that happened to me last year was this sort of, I don't know what to say. First, it was the assumption that they could just plan a holiday in my house,
That part.
you know? Like it was one of those weird things where it happened and then I was like, "Are you serious? Like did you really just email me and tell me what people are bringing to my house? Like did you really just do that?" And I was so shocked. But then I realized I shouldn't be because this is the way it works.
Yes.
And then I had to like very firmly just say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I never offered up my house." And then it was the backlash around how dare I upset the status quo,
Yes.
you know, and I just like at first it took me by surprise. It really did. But when it comes from a family in particular, when it comes from your family, it's just so difficult when everybody's like, but this is how we've always done it. And you owe
Yes.
me this. And there's all this like, you owe me, I did this for you your whole childhood, blah, 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 and you're kind of like, this is a whole different situation.
Thank you. And you know what, too? Like, okay, now I just got finished saying that I don't think all of this is like based in brain based differences. But I will say, and I don't know if this is your experience, Liz, but it has certainly been mine that, I grew into adulthood being the kind of float along, go along, like kind of like head in the clouds kind of person. And when you're that kind of person about this particular type of stuff, because as you know, like, because you know me, some stuff I'm very intense about. The things that are important to me, I'm intense about. Planning a holiday, not high on my list of importance. So, yeah, you guys go ahead and do what you want to do. But now that I've kind of grown in that area, now I might have opinions about that and put things in a way that I haven't done before, and that can be difficult for people to make the adjustment to, cuz it's like you don't what do you mean you're not going to let us just roll over you in this area anymore? Like what do you mean you want to have an opinion now? You don't have an opinion about these things. You do what you're told because you've always done what you were told. And that can be an adjustment period for everyone, not just us, because we might finally realize, just like you said, you jerks are always planning something with my resources, whether it's my house, my time, my ability to cook a dish that you like. Some people like to have people cook very expensive things that maybe you don't feel like spending the money on it, or maybe you don't have the time to devote to it this year or the bandwidth. And when people feel entitled to you, your resources, your time, whatever, and you react by saying, "Oh no, that's not how this is going to go." You're right, you do experience that kind of like, how dare you? Because now you're not
Mhm.
protecting your resource, you're snatching away what they see as their resource.
Well, and I think in families in particular, And it can happen, I think, also just with friends and things. It's like if your
Absolutely.
relationship has had a certain dynamic for so many years, even if I was uncomfortable for years, and I probably have been my entire life because my family's never had great holidays.
Yes.
Like we were supposed to pretend it was great. We were supposed to pose for pictures and we were supposed to be very grateful and never ever show any disappointment, sadness, like any of that. Shuffle between the parents' houses, do all the things, take all the pictures.
Because I'm working so hard for you, and how dare you
Right,
do anything but lay prostrate in front of me and show me your gratitude.
right.
That's kind of a weird imagery, isn't it? Whatever, I can't do anything about it now.
But as an adult, then being in this like reverse position where I'm supposed to make the holiday, I'm supposed to host, I'm supposed to either order or cook food, I'm supposed to like decorate, I'm supposed to do the whole thing. I'm supposed to do all of it.
Well, yeah, because now you have a child, and it's assumed that you wanna put on the entire pony show for your child. And to be fair, Liz has a really awesome kitchen. And I could see where somebody would assume that just because Liz has an awesome kitchen, that Liz wants to cook in that kitchen. Liz just likes the kitchen to be awesome. She don't got time to be cooking all the time. We don't do that. We have other things we do. We're busy being awesome. Cooking gets done when we feel like it. Awesome kitchen or no.
Well, and the thing for me, and I love my kitchen, but the thing for me is I have never wanted I've done a lot of things that I was very uncomfortable with for a
Yes.
very long time during the holiday season
Yes.
since I was a child. And I never had any control over any of it. And so maybe, you know what I've been saying to people? Maybe it was COVID. Maybe it was just my hormones. I don't know. But in 2020, I was just like,
I think it was that you found your voice,
I just,
Liz.
I just couldn't do it anymore. In 2020, it was about this time last year, probably. I was just like, I'm not doing this. I've hated it for years. It makes me stressed. I don't like it. I'm just not doing it.
Liz, I have watched you really come into your own. Like, you have really come into your own as a person when it comes to, like, for a long time when we met, I would watch you do things that made you frustrated or uncomfortable. And you're right, this past year or so, you have really been like, I don't care about that. I'm not going to do that. Oh, what, you thought just because I always did this thing or this event or wrote this or helped with that I'm going to help with it this time? Well, guess what? You could find somebody else to help with that. And I'm so proud of you because that's not easy.
No, it's not easy. I've always been the person who I don't know how to describe it. I did let people roll over me for a very long time.
And sometimes it's just easier to let them make the decision, Liz. Like, I don't think it's always us being passive. I think it's more like, do I care enough about this to argue with you about it? Nah, let them have their way. Who cares?
But I don't know. I just when it came to the holidays, just some things changed in the last year. And I just don't feel like if you need, I don't know, a break, if you need a quiet holiday, which is what I asked for last year when everything went down. I said, I need a little quiet.
Yes.
I need my husband and my son and I to wake up in the morning and just when we want to wake up, we'll wake up and then we'll have a little breakfast but I didn't want like 8 people come into my house invading my space during a pandemic no less.
Okay.
I just didn't want it. And when I tried to express that, I just said, I need a little quiet. I need a little quiet time. This 2020 has been a lot. I just need a rest. And of course, I got well, I'm so sorry you're tired. Like, seriously, that was what I got. And
Mhm.
I was just like, that was basically me having to tell my own mother to go pound sand, you know?
Yes. And you know what? That mother-daughter dynamic is particularly bad for this time of year. Like, if you have a pushy, pressury, demanding kind of mom, the holidays really bring that out because some people, just like we hear coordinating the holidays and we cringe, some people hear that and they're like, this is the time of year that I get to boss people around and they have to listen to me because it's the holiday season. I can't wait. Here, you go here, you sit here, you do this. Like, they glory in that kind of thing. I have some women in my family who glory in that kind of thing. One of them is very sad because she's not going to be able to do that this time. I feel for her cuz, like, I mean, that can't be easy to not be able to do this thing that you love to do so much. But having a quiet holiday is a luxury that I don't think I got until adulthood because I come from a big family. And I like a big holiday sometimes, but I think that's an option and I don't think it's a mandate. And this is another area where we just force it on people, and we especially force it on people with children because whether we believe it's for their children or not, we will make them believe that we think it's for their children because we use their children to control them, and it's not fair.
That's so funny that you say that about the children, because that was one of the things that was said to me last year was
Of
that
course.
what was it? It was something to the effect of, your child deserves more joy in his life, as if I was taking away his joy.
Mhm.
Seriously. My whole thing is they're holidays. Like, there's got to be a way to make it like less stressful but more fun. So, in my mind, I think the holiday season really gets crazy after Halloween.
Yes.
I think that's when things start to get a little wonky with everybody.
I feel like we need to just pop our popcorn and stay in the house, Liz. We could Instacart groceries, girl.
Well, it's funny you say that because I said to my husband, I was like, Paul, you know, I hate shopping. I order everything online. I was like, so this year, I was like, they're saying that, you saw those cargo ships that are all backed up, and then some of it fell off into the Atlantic Ocean. A bunch of cargo like fell off a ship. And I was like, oh shit, I better start shopping like right now. And my husband made a really good point. He was like, okay. He goes, but why don't you first make a list of what you're not buying? And I was like, oh. I was like, "That's a really good
Yo, I
idea."
love Paul. He's so level-headed. Like he's always like he has these moments of like quiet genius where you're like, "Holy shit, I think he just cracked the Da Vinci Code again."
Well, he has lived with me long enough that, like, he knows when I'm getting all, like, hyped up.
Yeah.
Like, he'll just be like, "So, why don't you do this first?" And he'll, like, give me the first step, and it usually helps to, like, calm me or slow me.
Then it all falls into place, right?
Yeah, or, like, it slows me down so that I can't just, like, start to spin. But that's what I was gonna say. That's what I wanted to say on your podcast. Like, first thing first, really, if you're starting the shopping thing early and you hate the sensory stuff of going out shopping, so you're doing this online, I would say first figure out who you're actually shopping for and who you can just, like, not bother. Because some people don't expect anything.
Let me tell you, for years, and it's gonna sound like I'm a cheap ass, I don't care. It's not about the money, it's about reducing the amount of stuff that I have to do. I only buy Christmas presents for the children in my immediate family and the people who I'm going to see on Christmas Day. Everyone else, if I need to get a gift, I can get it on the after Christmas sales, and I'm not running around stressing myself out trying to have things and wrap things. Like maybe I'll buy a few extra things. Like if I'm having a year where I care enough that I want to get a really snazzy picture of the tree with the presents around it and be like cutesy, and that is not that might be like every third or fourth year, then maybe I'll grab everything. But even like everything isn't a huge list for me because again, the holidays are about eating in my family. So we don't care if you buy us a gift as much as we care that you made us a really great plate of food. You know what I mean? Like I just that thing that people do where they have these mile long lists and send out like 1,000 cards. No wonder you're stressed out. Isn't the point of a holiday supposed to be fun and relaxation? Like it's not supposed to be about impressing all of your neighbors and showing up your sister-in-law and making sure you have the perfect like it's just you know what but there here we go circling back to what we were saying about assigning values. That is a value for some people. It just so happens to be a value that you and I don't hold. That's why we can relate on the topic because we're just like it's a holiday and it's supposed to be fun. It's not for everybody.
Mm-mm. And I grew up with in this environment where for some reason, we weren't even nice to each other, but then like there were these piles of gifts and you were supposed to be really grateful. You know what's funny though is that even as a very pretty young kid, I felt that there was a weird thing there. Like why are we pretending like we
Yes.
like each other and there's these like piles of gifts, and it just felt really inauthentic. And I think I picked up on it when I was like 8 years old, that I was like, this is so weird.
You know, Liz, now this is an area I'm willing to credit neurodivergence with because I feel like a lot of us are very like, let's just call the thing a thing and let's cut through the fluff and the BS. Like, does everybody not see that this is a load of crap? Oh, now everyone's mad because I said the quiet part
Mhm.
out loud. Like, but it is crap. Can we can't even agree that it's crap, huh? Like, okay, well, I'm just gonna be over here participating in this farce as little as possible. And like, I don't think it's a farce for everybody. Like I said, some people like that stuff. They like going to get all the pictures. Like, I don't know. I just feel like we should concentrate on the parts of the holiday that we like and maybe like downplay some of the like if your great aunt Emily doesn't get a Christmas card, does she thank you for the Christmas card? She probably doesn't even notice that you send it. So if it's making you miserable, maybe don't send her a card. Like it's just not.
Yeah.
And I believe in like testing stuff like that and seeing if it works.
Mhm.
If I don't send Aunt Emily a card this year and she doesn't notice, I'll never have to send Aunt Emily a card again. I do not have an Aunt Emily, which is why I'm using that name as an example because occasionally my family cares enough about what I'm doing to listen. If I used a real name, they'd be like, hurt.
That's a good way to look at it though, as like a test. Like test it out and
Mm,
see, like, or throw it out if you have to your family and say, what if we just bought gifts for the little kids?
yep, I have done that. It like especially in years when I knew I was broke, I would make sure they knew, look, not buying Christmas presents for adults this year. I'm buying Christmas presents for kids, and that's all I can do this year. It's not personal. It's just business.
Right.
Like
Yeah. I think there's no problem.
if it's a tradition you don't like, test it. Test it. Like test the waters and see. And if it's something that you hate enough, just like you were saying, Liz, like, yeah, you got the backlash for not having the holiday at your house. But guess who didn't care? The person who got the quiet Christmas that she wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just feel like starting in November, you get into this a lot of us get into this mindset of like, okay, I had like the finish line, like I got to do all these things.
Yep.
And I just think if you can start sorting through what is necessary and what is not, or what's going to drain you of energy and what's going to give you energy, what you're really looking forward to. I just think, and even with events, things like parties, whatever. Like, I just think if you can figure out like ahead of time, I'm probably not going to want to do anything that first week in December because blah, 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 like whatever. If you can think through that a little bit so that you're not making the decision in the moment, say, or you run into somebody at the grocery store and they're like, hey, did you get my thing?
Yes.
And you're like,
Yes.
what thing? Yeah. Must not have come in the mail.
I feel like people with ADHD plan things based on the amount of time we have, and we never factor in the emotional bandwidth, and we never factor in all the other things that we're doing and how tired they make us. And a lot of this holiday stuff is heavy on the emotions, and that is ultra draining. So if you don't do anything else for yourself this holiday season, consider in your planning how much energy the things you're doing will take because that can make a dramatic difference in your life. And in fact, I would say that's good for any time of year, not just the holidays. Like, check in with yourself and see how you're feeling before you commit to these things. Like, some things you're just too tired to do or too drained to do or just sick of having to be around a specific group of people. Like, we get tired of specific groups of people and need a break. Like, check in with yourself and not just what other people want you to do and not just what social obligations tell you you should be doing.
Well, and then getting to that place where like when somebody is not happy with you, for whatever reason, whether it's family or it's, someone else, I just feel like you have to get to a place where you can manage that, the big feelings around disappointing someone.
Yes.
And that can be like a problem for a lot of us with ADHD. We have a really hard time processing that.
Huge.
I think that is something to work through. I don't have all the answers, but I do think that's something to be aware of, that as you make these decisions, there's going to be these moments of like, other people, the other humans and how, my decision making affects them and how I'm going to, it's hard. It's hard for us.
And you know what? I think the thing that we do too is when we're considering people's feelings, like we consider everyone's feelings but
Mhm.
our own. And like when you consider your feelings, it's okay for your feelings to have an equal weight to everyone else's feelings. Like I think quite often we put other people's feelings like on a higher pedestal than our own because we feel like it's somehow unfair to consider our own feelings before someone else's. So like maybe considering your feelings at a higher level than someone else's feels wrong, but consider like that your own feelings have an equal value. Your feelings are just as important as everyone else's, and see if that shifts anything for you.
Yeah. It should be more about what is fun or like what are the things you really want to do? My son does like to bake. And I mean, I can bake a couple kinds of cookies, but I get a little bored in the kitchen. It's not my thing. But I will have a Saturday when we do all the cookie baking, you know? So we can do that kind of stuff. And I don't mind doing that. It's just this idea that I have to be the hostess and everything. I need to just do the things that are fun and ignore the rest.
Don't we have a right to celebrate our holidays with people who have similar holiday celebration styles?
Mhm.
Like, there's enough holiday season that you can team up with the like-minded, and there's no, like, crime in not spending the specific day with people who don't celebrate it like, why would we commit to making each other uncomfortable for a day in the name of family? That's not family. That's just weird.
No, I completely agree with you. I just think speaking in general that like everything we've talked about today, these are like the issues that people have around the holidays. And I know we can't solve the problems of the world. I think the biggest problem we solved is just do what's fun and don't do what's not. I guess I'm just hoping that more and more people start to push back on these sort of expectations.
Well, and that's the thing, like, so much of that, like, it's all societal norm.
There's a whole industry especially for, women and like home DIY, bloggers and mommy bloggers. I mean, that's a whole industry built around this sort of thing.
There is, and there's that connection to, like, the better you do at the holidays, mom, the more everyone will love you.
Yeah, I don't think it works in reality, but the percent, yes.
That and you're creating beautiful memories that are gonna last for a lifetime, but in the like, that's what's pitched to us, but in reality, everyone's angry, and you're yelling at the kids, and they're gonna remember like, your kids are gonna remember how resentful you were every holiday, if that's the face that you show them. So maybe find a way, and that's not a criticism because there's a lot of pressure, like, we've been talking about that the whole show, but if you feel so pressured that you can't do it without feeling resentful, get rid of it.
Yeah, and I only have one child. I know there are people that have 4 and 5 and more children. I just think that this idea that you have to make their Christmas something big or extraordinary, that's not the stuff that the kids are even going to remember.
No. That's a lot, like, that's a lot of work to create an unforgettable holiday every holiday. I don't have that in me. Every holiday is not unforgettable.
We're all supposed to be perfect mothers. And just as like a side note, like you don't have to have given birth to be a mom. You don't even have to be a woman to be a mom. You just have to be the person who takes on the mental load of it.
Agreed. Like, if the pressure to perform all the pageantry of the holiday is on you, then this message is for you.
Mhm. Do what's fun, don't do what's not, have really good boundaries, which is really easy to say, right? Just have good boundaries.
Oh my god, boundaries. And eat.
Well, yeah, eat.
Eat really good food. That's important.
And if you don't want to cook the food, you just want to order the food, that's okay too.
Liz Lewis taught me that one.
Make it, buy it, do whatever you got to do.
Like, that's what it's about. It's about like eat, drink, and be merry. Like, we got the eating and the drinking part, but we struggling in that be merry part.
Yeah.
So anyways, Liz Lewis, where do I tell people to find you?
Well, the easiest place to find me is just to probably email me, I guess. Liz@healthyadhd.com.
Tell them what you do besides write awesome emails, Liz.
I run a community for ADHD women. We have a moms group in there too. It's called the ADHD Enclave. You can Google it. It'll come up.
Liz, it's been lovely. Thank you so much for coming to this conversation with Liz and I. As you can tell, we have a lot to say and a lot of big opinions, but I really hope that you learned something that'll help your holiday season be a little smoother and a little more stress-free, and that you beat the holiday blues with something you learned today. And while you're looking to learn more about the holiday, you can go find my workbook, From Hell to Holiday. It's on the Black Girl Lost Keys website in the workbook section of the store. In there, you'll learn more about how to get the house clean enough for company, have an answer ready for the nosy questions that people ask you at the holidays. You can get your gift list covered without losing the gifts in your secret hiding spots. And you can kind of prepare in advance for the people who like to torment you at family gatherings. There's a lot of good stuff in there and a lot of different exercises that you can do to kind of sort through those emotions and come up with a plan of attack so the holidays will be smoother. So give that a look while you're in the holiday frame of mind. Please reach out to us and let us know what you think. Record a voice memo or write an email and send it to connect@distractionpodcast.com. Distraction is created by Sounds Great Media. Our producer is Sarah Gurton. I'm René Brooks. You can find me at blackgirllostkeys.com and on Twitter at BLKGirlLostKeys. Until next time.
The episode you just heard was made possible by our sponsor, Landmark College, the college for students who learn differently, offering comprehensive supports for students with ADHD and other learning differences, both on campus and online. Learn more at lcdistraction.org.